Will any remaining 2023 movies join the $1 billion club? Let's find out. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I got a fun, little bit of a different tier list, as I'm going to be talking about the remaining 2023 movies and ranking them in different tiers based on how likely they are to make $1 billion at the box office. Now, I've got about 15 or so of some of the biggest movies remaining to come out this year, and I have 5 tiers that I'm about to dive right in. But before I do, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below what film you think has the best shot to make $1 billion remaining to come out this year. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 85,000 subscribers here on the channel. Check out my Patreon link down below for extra content, the Discord server, lots of fun stuff over there. Your support goes a very long way. But without further ado, I say we dive into these tiers. All right, so the tiers I have today are high chance, it's possible, maybe, unlikely, and no shot. And again, these tiers are based on the likelihood that these films will make $1 billion at the global box office. So kickstarting this list, we've got Gran Turismo. This is a movie that comes out in like 2 weeks, I want to say. It's got a star-studded cast. You got David Harbour, Will Turner himself, Orlando Bloom making an appearance in the film, and some other big actors in there as well. Now, this is actually based on, I believe, either the video game series, which is based on a true event, or just based on these crazy true events where this kid who is like a damn good racer when it comes to driving in video games, ends up getting this real life opportunity to race cars. I'm not very familiar with this IP or really the story, so that excites me. I'm gonna put this in unlikely. I just don't see a world where this makes $1 billion. It does have, you know, the Stranger Things fandom supporting David Harbour and people who are gonna go out and support, you know, Orlando Bloom and just want to see this fun movie, where that's fans of the video games, fans of the story, fans of sports movies. It's gonna do decent at the box office, I think, but it's unlikely that it'll make $1 billion. It's not going in no shot, because I do think, again, there's a slim possibility it could happen, you never know. I just don't see it happening with this film. And also, August is kind of a dead month for movies, this being the first big one to come out in August, so we'll have to wait and see. Moving on, though, we've got Wonka, with Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka himself. The trailer has sparked some, not controversy online, but divisiveness, people either loving it or making fun of it. I kind of fall in the boat of I'm on board. I am here for this whimsical, sort of magical time at the movies, and it looks like escapism fun. I think this goes in the maybe tier, because you never know. It's sort of this outlier or black sheep, honestly, where we can't get a good read on if Wonka could do $1 billion or not. Will it actually come out this year? Will it get delayed? That's a topic for another time. But when it comes down to it, you've got the star power of Timothée Chalamet. In the current day and age, a movie's success is pretty dependent upon social media buzz, and Timothée Chalamet appeals to a younger generation of fans who normally might not go to the movies. Plus, it's going to cater to fans of the original film with Gene Wilder and people who grew up with the film starring Johnny Depp by Tim Burton. So Wonka has appealed to different generations of people over time. You throw that in with Timothée Chalamet, who is huge right now, I think this movie might make $1 billion. It could also flop, but I'll give it a very strong maybe. Moving on, though, we've got Barbie. This is a movie that is in theaters right now, and they have 2 films on this list. I had to include the Oppenheimer double feature. They've been out for less than a week, and I'll say this much. Barbie's already grossed $400 million worldwide. Already. It had one of the highest grossing Mondays ever. I think it did $26 million on a Monday. There's a high chance. In fact, this is probably going to be joining the $1 billion club. I already know people are going to go back for round 2, and a lot of people are probably just prolonging, or should I say delaying, their Barbenheimer double feature from opening weekend to round 2. Some people might even go back for Barbenheimer round 2. There's a very high chance this film cracks the $1 billion marker. That is due to a wide variety of factors. Number 1, the star power. Number 2, the marketing. Number 3, the fact that the film is divisive online and people are calling it woke and attacking it. And then there's a crowd of people who are like, oh, I'm going to go hate watch this movie. That's still going to get it money. And then there's a crowd of people who never would have watched it without controversy and are like, oh, I'm going to go check this movie out and make up my mind for myself. So there's a lot of these random factors thrown in here. Plus the fact the movie's just marketed really well, and Barbie's a huge like name recognition that people just know Barbie, whether that's a little kid, whether that is a 50-year-old who grew up playing with Barbies. This film appeals to a wide variety, and it's sparked buzz online. It's just going to continue racking it up. I won't be surprised at all when this does hit $1 billion, and it will be the next $1 billion club film, which is why it goes in the high chance tier. Next, we've got Saw X. I want to play a game. I put this on here just because I wanted to talk about Saw. look, there's no shot this movie hits $1 billion. I'm putting it at the bottom tier. I love the Saw franchise. It's sort of a guilty pleasure franchise of mine, and I will be rewatching all the movies leading up to Saw X, but I don't think there's been a Saw film on record that's actually grossed over $200 million. Someone could fact check me on that in the comments, but I think the highest grossing Saw film was like 170 million maybe. So the thing about the Saw films is they're not trying to make $1 billion. They're not designed like that. They're very low budget movies that have a built-in audience. People go support these movies and they make their money back and then some. But at the end of the day, this movie's not gonna rack it up at the box office. It's a hard R-rated film that's going to be disturbing and a lot of people aren't going to go see. But next we've got Aquaman 2, which again, this movie and some others on this list might not actually come out this year. But for Aquaman 2, I'm going to go it's possible. I think that it's very possible this movie could crack the $1 billion marker. I'm not going high chance, but it's possible because the first film did $1 billion. And if this movie does end up coming out, it's the biggest movie coming out during the Christmas time slot. Now, I am hesitant with the current state of DC. Obviously, The Flash and Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and even Black Adam, the past 3 DC Universe films have bombed at the box office, so that's not promising for this, but it is a superhero movie coming out during the Christmas season. Families tend to go to the cinema way more during this time of year. Even if it is a bad movie, people flock to see the first Aquaman, which is sort of middle of the road and has its moments to shine. But maybe people who went and saw the movie go, hey, let's go see Aquaman 2 with our family this Christmas. So we'll see. You know, historically, films usually do really well during the Christmas release slate. So that's why I'm saying it's possible. Plus the first film did $1 billion. But in reality, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't see it making $1 billion. But it's possible. So that's why it's in that tier. Next we got Blue Beetle. I love Sholomere Dueña. He plays Miguel in Cobra Kai. I am very pumped for this movie. It is my most anticipated remaining 2023 comic book film. It sucks to say this, but it's unlikely. I'm putting it at the top of unlikely. It's very unlikely that this film will make $1 billion. And the main reason being, it comes out during the middle of August, which is sort of a dead zone for movies, but the main reason is it's a new DC character, and fans of movies are kind of off DC right now. No one really cares. I look at The Flash, that came out in June. You brought back Michael Keaton's Batman, you had Supergirl, you had all these things going for it, and the movie still failed miserably at the box office. So to take a new character and introduce him in Blue Beetle, I think it's going to be harder to get butts in seats. People don't know who the character is. They'll say, oh, I'll just wait 3 months or 2 months and watch it on streaming or digital. And it's August, you know, the kids just went back to school. It's getting busy. Football season's picking up, you know, whatever. Things get busier in the fall. And this is sort of the transitional month, August to September. I just think it's really unlikely that this movie, you know, reaches $1 billion and frankly is successful at the box office. I hope the movie's amazing. I think it will be. It looks awesome. Again, really excited for this one, wishing nothing but success for it. But I think it's just really unlikely this movie does $1 billion, let alone even maybe makes its money back. I could see this one flopping, unfortunately. But next we've got Ghostbusters Afterlife 2, I guess. There's no official name for this film yet. It is still somehow slated for release in December. There's no way that's happening. I don't think the movie ever even finished filming, and with the strike going on, there's just no way. So I think it's just a matter of time until this movie gets delayed. I could be wrong. I would love for it to come out this year, but when it comes down to it, this movie has a shot. So I will put it in maybe. I think, actually, I will put it above Wonka. And the reason being, it's the same reason I put Aquaman in It's Possible, because Ghostbusters, it's like family friendly. It appeals to a lot of generations. People really like that first Ghostbusters film, so the sequel was greenlit, and it comes out during Christmas time. People might even choose Ghostbusters over Aquaman, so you never know. It's got a cast that appeals to all generations with Paul Rudd, but then you got, you know, Finn Wolfhard, McKenna Grace, a lot of big names in this cast, and Ghostbusters is iconic. Love or hate the series of films, it's iconic. It's something that caters to families, and I think maybe this movie could make $1 billion. Moving on, though, we've got the fourth Expendables film, which being marketed really weird. In my opinion, Stallone is a goner in this movie. He's barely in the trailer. His name shows up like last on the credits, so I think he might just be in this movie for like 5 or 10 minutes. I don't know. The third Expendables movie stunk. I watched all these movies for the first time this year. The third one was garbage. I don't know. If this movie's rated R or PG-13, we'll have to see. There's no shot this movie does $1 billion. It has a better chance than Saw X, just because you got Stallone in there and Jason Statham, but no shot. Next, we've got The Marvels, the sole remaining MCU film for the rest of the year. I'm going to say this movie has a high chance of doing $1 billion. Now, that could be controversial. I'm putting it there right now behind Barbie, because I think Barbie's already proven it's probably going to get there. The Marvels has a lot more to prove. But when it comes down to it, the first Captain Marvel film did $1 billion at the box office. It is an MCU film. No matter what, an MCU film is going to have a high chance of possibly making $1 billion. A lot of people are still fans of the MCU, so I think the opening of this film, it's going to be interesting to see. Even Quantumania, which ended up sort of fizzling out, did almost 500 million worldwide and had over 100 million domestically in its opening weekend. But at the same time, I'm a little skeptical. Could this be the movie where people are like, I'm done with the MCU, I'm not going to see it anymore? Guardians 3 is sandwiched between Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and the Marvels, so that movie did almost $900 million worldwide and was a huge hit critically and with fans. So maybe the sour taste of Quantumania for many has been washed out of their mouth by Guardians 3, and they're willing to give this one a new chance. We'll have to see. You know, if you got Nick Fury in the marketing, that appeals to a lot of people who sort of gave up and maybe will only come back for the OG characters. But I'm more so just excited for the team up of Miss Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and Captain Marvel. I think all the characters are at great places right now. The chemistry looks to be there, and it looks like a fun movie. It's an MCU film. We won't have had one since, I'd say, May to November. It's a big gap. People might be clamoring for MCU content, but at the same time, people might be done with it. I think this will be a test to see if people really care about team up big MCU movies anymore. Technically this is a team up movie, but I'm referring to, your Guardians, your Avengers films. Do people really care about the non-Spider-Man huge names? We'll have to see, and the Marvels will really be a test, but I still think right now it's got a fairly high chance to end up making $1 billion worldwide. Anyway, we have next got The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the Hunger Games prequel starring Rachel Zegler. I say this is possible, and this might be crazy, but I think that I'm putting it... no. I'll put it behind Aquaman. I was going to put it over Aquaman for a second, but look, the Hunger Games fandom is huge. It is alive and well right now, and for a while now, it's been sparked up on the social medias, particularly TikTok, which is huge for getting people to go to theaters. Just look at Barbenheimer. That was this huge social media campaign that was all over TikTok, all over Twitter. This movie will be all over those social media platforms. It appeals to a younger audience. I mean, when I was in middle school, 2012, 13, getting into 2014, I'm in high school now, these films, the 4 Hunger Games movies, were coming out every year, and they were cultural events. People were talking about them like crazy. This was almost like Harry Potter in a way, right? So I think bringing this back to the big screen, it's going to draw a lot of people out of this Hunger Games retirement and sort of re-spark this hype for the franchise. I definitely think it's possible. I think the movie does, 5, 6, 700 million. I think it's a big hit. I mean, it could... I don't think it outgrosses the highest grossing Hunger Games film, which I believe was Catching Fire, but it's still possible. You never know what could catch for people around Thanksgiving time and word of mouth. We'll see. It's possible. Probably not going to happen, but it is possible, so I had to put it in that tier. Next, we've got Disney's new animated film Wish, which apparently might get delayed to next year due to the strike because Disney won't pay their actors or writers fairly. However, I would say this is in the... unlikely. I'll probably go in the middle of unlikely. Look, and I know it's Disney. I know it's an animated movie. I look at Disney's track record recently. A lot of their animated films from Walt Disney Animation have bombed. Strange World being the most recent one that no one talked about. So even though this looks like it's returning to the roots of sort of a Disney princess story with the classic style of animation and a Disney villain, and it's more of the template we know and love as like Disney animated movie fans, I still worry. Has Disney lost its reputation as making some of the best animated content out there? And that might be the case, because a lot of Pixar films and Disney films lately have underperformed greatly at the box office. Audiences have become accustomed to waiting for Disney Plus. I think that will be the case with Wish. People will say, oh no, it's the holiday season, we'll just wait a few months and you'll watch it for free on Disney Plus. That's the case here, I think. So Wish will underperform. That's why it goes in the unlikely tier. Next, we've got Killers of the Flower Moon. Doesn't have a poster yet, so I put a picture of Leo. Look, I love Scorsese. It's got a loaded cast with De Niro, DiCaprio, Jesse Plemons, Brendan Fraser. It's going to get nominated for tons of Oscars. It could be one of the best movies of the year. I'm pumped for it, but it has no shot. In fact, I think that these movies, honestly, like seriously, these movies have a better chance to make $1 billion than Killers of the Flower Moon, because it is just a movie that's R-rated. It's 3.5 hours. Those two things put it pretty much at the bottom, percentage-wise, of it making $1 billion. Yes, it's got a star-studded cast, a director who everyone knows and loves, and again, this is no indication of my anticipation for the film. I am pumped for it. It's one of my most anticipated for the remaining of the year. I think it's going to be a fantastic movie, but it is not going to make $1 billion. It's inconceivable. There's no way this film could make $1 billion. Only one R-rated film in existence has, and that was Joker. This doesn't have the pull of Joker. Putting it in no shot, honestly. Moving on, though, we've got Dune Part 2. The first Dune came out during the pandemic, so I believe it did the same day release theaters as HBO Max, which it doomed it from ever having a chance to make $1 billion. But I'll say this much: I'll go top of maybe. First of all, the movie might not even come out this year, but we're gonna put it at the top of maybe with the assumption that it is coming out this year. I just don't know if it appeals to as wide of an audience as, say, a franchise film like the ones above it. I think the movie looks fantastic. If you follow me on YouTube since 2021, I didn't love the first Dune, but I said I'm excited for part 2. I think that could really turn my thoughts on the first one around, and I haven't rewatched the first one yet, but I think when I do and then I go into this one, I'll like the first one a lot more. But anyway, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, look, it's a star-studded cast, and it's this epic film. Fans of the first are going to flock to theaters to see it, and it's not doing the same day release as HBO Max, so that's going to obviously get people who maybe watch the first on HBO Max to go see it in cinemas. So I think it does better opening weekend than the first Dune, but I don't see this one doing $1 billion just because it's a big ask for people to go to the theater for a movie of this caliber nowadays. A lot of people just won't go, so I could see it doing, you know, 500-600 million worldwide, but $1 billion, maybe? You never know, again, what could catch and what couldn't. But then I look at the rest of the November slate, it's stacked. You've got Dune, the Marvels, the Hunger Games film. I just don't see it happening, but maybe, you never know. Next, we've got Kraven the Hunter. I feel like I have to put this in maybe just because it has Marvel attached to it. I will put it, like, I mean, really, this is, like, sad, but I have to put it sort of high in maybe because, look, it's got Marvel, it's got Sony. I know Morbius bombed, and to me, this looks like Morbius 2.0. The movie looks awful, and I think it's going to bomb just as hard, if not harder, than Morbius did. But then I go, it's Aaron Taylor Johnson. He kind of had some buzz going for him recently with Bullet Train. People might go see it. It's a superhero movie from Marvel. That alone garners a few $100 million, so it could catch. It comes out in October, though, which is a loaded horror month, and they might not go see this one in theaters, so it's tough. I think maybe, but in some weird world, but it has a better shot than some of the other films below it, I'll say that much. Anyway, next we got Oppenheimer, the movie that opened bigger than expected. It had an 80 million domestic opening. It's over 200 million worldwide as it stands right now. It is R-rated, however. It is 3 hours long, however. It's probably not going to hit $1 billion. And because we know the trajectory of it, I'll put it at the top of unlikely, because it would just take so much to get to $1 billion at this point. It would need the longest legs and all that. I think it'll still end around 500-600 million worldwide, which is damn impressive for an R-rated 3-hour historical biopic from Christopher Nolan. But it's just unlikely at this point. The reason a lot of these films are in maybe or it's possible is because we don't know. We have no, reports of their earnings yet. The movies haven't come out. With Oppenheimer, we have seen the results it's bringing in, which are impressive, and it's my favorite movie of the year, one of my favorite movies I've seen in a long damn time. But it's just unlikely, so that's why it goes at the top of that. But the last movie here, one of the most interesting on this entire tier list, Five Nights at Freddy's. Huge fandom. Huge fandom, from the video games to the people who Twitch stream it, to the social media, to the lore. I mean, this is a huge fandom with untapped potential. It's also a horror movie that comes out the weekend leading up to Halloween. It's also PG-13. It also has Josh Hutcherson. It has Matthew Lillard of Scream fame. This, I feel, is going to do numbers. This is going to be, to me, a movie that I'm putting in It's Possible, and call me crazy, I'm going middle of It's Possible over the Hunger Games, because you never know. This is a PG-13 horror movie. It's going to do hundreds of millions of dollars, I think, but it could be one that, hey, let's flock to the theaters on Halloween weekend, and then people go and see it even into November with word of mouth. So I think this is the horror movie. It's going to be the highest grossing horror movie of the year, and it could make $1 billion. I don't think it's insane. That's why it's possible. It's not out of the question that this movie does well. It's PG-13. It's a horror movie that kind of appeals to a younger generation, but a lot of people might go anyway. I could see this one doing it. There's a world where this makes $1 billion, which is why it goes in the middle of It's Possible. But that's going to do it for my tier list ranking of all these upcoming 2023 movies based on how likely they are to make $1 billion. I have no clue what I'm going to call this video, so if you watched it, let me know what you think of the title, because this was a hard one to think of a title for. But anyway, let me know down below what movie you think will join the $1 billion club next from this year. Do you think any of these movies will make $1 billion? Do you think none of them will? Let me know that in the comments down below, and be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 85,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. Check out my Patreon link down below. Your support goes a long way over there. I got the Discord server, early videos, extra access to videos, all that good stuff. But thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.